The twin sons of Archon. 9 had long since dipped below the dust-choked horizon when Cal Ren stumbled upon the chest. His breath came ragged through the cracked seal of his rebreather, each step kicking up a fine haze of red sand that clung to the joints of his suit. The skeletal remains of the monastery loomed ahead, its obsidian spires jagged like broken teeth, silent against the wind's low moan. He'd followed a scavenger's instinct, and it had led him here, to the ruins of something older than his maps dared name. Inside the shattered hall, debris crunched beneath his boots. Vines with bioluminescent veins slithered across the walls like veins over decaying skin. His helmet lamp flickered, but the artifact at the center of the chamber didn't need illumination to draw the eye. It was a chest, rectangular, seamless, and humming faintly with a sound just outside the range of hearing. Symbols pulsed across its surface, languages layered in forgotten tongues, none of them human. And yet something about it tugged at Cal's gut, like a memory he'd never owned. "Rex," he whispered, "scan this." The AI's voice crackled through his earpiece. "No known power source. No material match. It's older than anything on record. My advice? Leave it. This reeks of pre-collapse tech. Could be cursed. Or worse. Cursed things pay best." He knelt and reached out, hand hovering an inch from the smooth surface. It was warm, alive. He pressed his fingers to it. The reaction was instant. The symbols flared, and a ripple of energy surged up his arm. A sharp pulse cracked through his skull, then silence. The chest hissed and slowly unfolded like petals of a metal flower. Cal braced himself, expecting weaponry, gas, maybe an ancient trap. What he got was silence. Then a small, shallow breath. Inside lay a child. Barely the size of a human toddler, its skin shimmered a pale violet, smooth and translucent like the surface of a soap bubble. Fine tendrils of silver hair floated around its head, though there was no air current. Its eyes fluttered open, revealing irises of layered gold and void black. Cal staggered back. What the hell? The child didn't cry. It looked at him with the calm of someone much older than its frame suggested. A strange warmth spread through Cal's chest, not just physical, but emotional, like something ancient had taken root inside him. The chest had not just opened, it had chosen. "Vital signs stable," Rex murmured, now uncertain. "But I'm detecting layered genetics. Spliced code. This isn't a child. It's a relic." "No," Cal said, more to himself than the machine. "It's alive." As if hearing him, the child tilted its head. Then it spoke, not in words, but in a whisper inside Cal's mind. Images. Galaxies spiraling into silence. A shattered throne. A race with eyes like his, wiped from memory. A final command: protect the last flame. The pain was sharp, too much information flooding too fast. Cal clutched his head, gasping. The visions vanished, leaving only the child watching him. He scooped the child into his arms. It was warm, solid, impossibly light. The moment he did, a sigil glowed on his forearm, one that hadn't been there moments ago. "What just happened?" he muttered. "Unknown," Rex replied. "But I recommend immediate evacuation. A beacon just activated. Someone, knows this chest was opened." "Of course they do." Cal glanced at the child again. Nothing good ever comes sealed in a box. He hurried back to his ship, the windshear, alarms already blinking to life as he strapped the child into a padded med bay. His mind reeled with implications. A living alien noble, forgotten, buried, locked away like a secret too dangerous to destroy. The child blinked slowly, gaze never leaving his. Then it spoke, aloud this time, voice of fragile echo. "Sentinel." Cal froze. He didn't know what it meant, but something deep in his bones whispered it wasn't just a title. It was a warning. Or a promise. The ship lifted from the monastery ruins as dust storms gathered behind them, cloaking the past once more. But Cal Ren had already opened the chest. And nothing would ever close it again. The child didn't sleep. Even when Cal dimmed the ship's lights and muted the hum of the engines, it sat curled in the medbay, eyes open, gleaming like twin eclipses. Days passed, or at least what passed for days in the void between stars. Cal kept his distance, repairing hull seams, recalibrating the NAV system. Anything to keep his hands busy and his thoughts from circling too close to what he'd brought aboard.
Thaler.
That's what the child called himself. No surname, no lineage, just a name heavy with quiet gravity. He spoke rarely, and when he did, his voice slipped into Cal's mind rather than through the air. It wasn't telepathy, not exactly. It felt more like memory folded into language. "You were chosen," Thaler had said once, as if stating a known fact. "You opened the vessel. That makes you my Sentinel."
Cal had laughed at that.
"I don't even guard my own paycheck. Find someone else." But Thaler only stared, unblinking. There was no argument, no pleading. Only certainty. It unsettled Cal more than he cared to admit. Then came the first pursuers. They dropped out of slip space in dark, angular ships with no transponder signals, mercenary grade, heavily modified. Cal caught them just beyond the shadow of the collapsed gas giant HFY. He pulled the wind shear into a decaying orbit, hoping to mask his signature among the debris fields, but it was too late. They'd already pinged his trail. Rex, options. Weapons, underpowered. Shields, 37%. Evasion, not recommended unless you enjoy atmospheric reentry without a hull. Helpful. A blast rocked the starboard side, throwing Cal into the control panel. Sparks hissed. Alarm screamed. "I suggest surrender," Rex added dryly. Cal gritted his teeth. Never liked that word. He spun the ship around, diving into the wreckage. Panels peeled off like rotten fruit as they skimmed across twisted metal and forgotten war machines. Thaler stood at the bridge's entrance, perfectly balanced despite the turbulence. He said nothing, but his eyes pulsed with faint golden light. Cal didn't ask him for help. He didn't have to. The next blast never landed. Instead, a pulse of light rippled out from Thaler, silent, colorless, and impossibly fast. The incoming ship veered off course, weapon systems going dark. Cal watched it spin uncontrollably before slamming into a derelict cruiser. Rex broke the silence. That was not in any known technological database. No kidding. Thaler turned to him. "They will not stop. The ones who erased my bloodline now fear its return." "You were royalty?" Cal asked, though the truth already sat in his gut like a stone. "I was heir to the star seat," Thaler said. "Now I am the last fragment of a ruined crown." Cal sank into the pilot's chair, the full weight of it sinking in. "Then why lock you away in a box?" Thaler's gaze narrowed. "Because I carry something no empire should control." He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. Rex confirmed it a day later. Deep within Thaler's genome was a sequence that interfaced with ancient Starforge technology. Code that could open structures even time had forgotten. It wasn't just royal blood.
It was a key.
Cal found himself staring at the child during quiet moments, searching for signs of manipulation. Was this a trap? A test? Every instinct in him screamed to offload Thaler at the next port, sell the coordinates of the chest to some syndicate, and vanish. He'd be rich.
Free.
But every time he looked at the boy, no, the being, he remembered the way the ship's systems had knelt to him. The way the stars themselves had seemed to pause. Then came the message. Encrypted, masked, and sent through a relay Cal didn't even remember connecting to. It bore the seal of the Unbound Syndicate, the largest black market tech ring in 3 systems. The message was simple. You have our property. Surrender it and you live. Attached was a holopic. Thaler, encased in a stasis field, mouth open in a scream Cal couldn't hear. Something inside him snapped.
He deleted the message.
The next port was Velos Drift, a neutral floating colony built into the remains of a moon. Cal docked under a false name, bought fuel, kept his head down. He almost made it out clean. Then Elric showed up. Old contact. Scaver like him, but meaner, with fewer lines he wouldn't cross. Cal hadn't seen him in years, But the moment their eyes met in the hangar, he knew the man had sold his loyalty. "You always did pick up shiny things you didn't understand," Alric said, tapping his wrist pad. "Figured I'd save you the trouble this time. Syndicate wants the kid." Cal's fingers hovered over his holster. "He's not for sale." "Then you're not walking out." The first shot grazed a shoulder. The second didn't land at all. Thaler stepped from behind a cargo crate, hand raised. Light poured from his palm like molten glass, bending around Elric, freezing him mid-lunge. His body dropped, stunned but alive. Cal stared at the child. No, the force of nature standing in his defense. "You didn't have to do that." Thaler looked up, eyes impossibly old. "You are my sentinel. I will not lose another." They left Velos in silence. Back aboard the Windshear, Cal stitched up his arm with numb hands. Thaler sat nearby, legs folded, hands resting lightly on his knees. Meditation, maybe. Or something stranger. Cal finally spoke. "We can't outrun this forever. They'll keep coming. Then we go where they cannot follow." "Where's that?" Thaler opened his eyes. For the first time, there was a trace of sorrow in them. "The Star Seat." Cal exhaled, like a man accepting a road with no return. "Then that's where we're headed." The Star Seat drifted in a silent orbit above a black star, invisible to most sensors, shielded by ancient energy fields that pulsed with intelligence. As the Windshear approached, the hull vibrated in a slow, harmonic rhythm, like the ship itself recognized the presence of something older than time. Cal sat in the cockpit, hands clenched on the controls, jaw tight. Behind him, Thaler stood with his eyes closed, speaking not to Cal, but to the structure ahead through some bond only his kind could access. The Star Seat was not a throne as Cal had once imagined, but a colossal ring-shaped station carved from obsidian alloy and starlight. Its surface shifted with spectral glyphs, stories that danced and shimmered across kilometers of arcane architecture. This was no abandoned relic. It was waiting. Cal brought the ship in slow. Too fast, and the station's defenses might see them as a threat. He'd seen it happen to a Syndicate cruiser that tried to beat them here. A ship twice their size had been sliced apart mid-drift, its wreckage now orbiting as a graveyard warning. They docked without resistance. A platform extended to meet them, its surface clean despite no signs of use. The air was breathable, though heavy with ionized particles. Cal stepped out first, rifle slung over his shoulder, senses sharp. Thaler followed barefoot, his expression unreadable. He looked older than he had days ago, taller, more composed. The changes in him had accelerated since their arrival. They moved through vast halls lined with dormant machines that whispered as they passed. Lights awakened at their steps. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became, not with heat, but with pressure, like reality itself thickened around the center of this place. Then they reached it. The chamber, a vast cathedral of stars, open to the void yet perfectly enclosed. At its center hovered the true Star Seat, a crystalline structure shaped like a lotus, its petals folded tightly around a core of radiant energy. It pulsed in sync with Thaler's breathing. He stepped forward. Cal grabbed his arm. "Once you touch that thing, there's no turning back. You know that, right?" Thaler looked up at him, voice calm. "I was never meant to turn back. Only forward." Before Cal could speak again, Thaler placed his hand on the pedestal beneath the seat. The change was immediate. A surge of light erupted from the ground, engulfing the boy and the throne. The petals of the seat unfurled, releasing a cascade of symbols into the air. One by one, they circled Thaler, imprinting themselves into his skin like molten ink. His eyes rolled back. The chamber trembled. The machines in the walls began to hum, awakening after 1,000 years of silence. Cal staggered back as the ground split open, revealing layers of mechanical strata, each one humming with impossible energy. A voice rose from beneath the throne, ancient and layered, speaking not in words, but in intentions. Blood returned. Protocol restored. Echoes denied. Then the enemy came. Slipstream breaches tore through the space outside. Ships dark and jagged screamed into orbit, Syndicate class, reinforced, carrying weapons designed for extinction-level threats. They had followed. Of course they had. Greed and fear traveled faster than any drive. Cal ran to the observation deck, fingers flying across the console. Rex, what's the plan? Plan? Oh, I thought we were past that. You've just woken a god, and we're surrounded by cutthroats with nukes. Then stall them. I'll try, but stalling might look a lot like dying. Explosions rippled across the station's shields as the Syndicate fleet opened fire. Cal's heart pounded. He grabbed his rifle and sprinted back to the chamber. Thaler now floated above the seat, body limp, suspended in energy. His mouth moved, chanting words Cal couldn't hear. The glyphs around him had formed a lattice, a defense system, maybe, or something far worse. Cal turned as Syndicate mercenaries breached the chamber entrance. The first wave wore exoframes and carried disintegrators. Cal opened fire before they even finished stepping through the door. He didn't aim to kill, just to hold them back long enough. One got through. The merc raised a rifle at Thaler.
Cal didn't think.
He threw himself in the way. Pain exploded through his side. He hit the ground hard, gasping, the world spinning. The merc raised the weapon again. Then, everything stopped. A soundless scream erupted from the throne. Light flooded the chamber. The mech disintegrated mid-motion, his atoms pulled apart in slow, terrifying elegance. Cal watched through blurring eyes as Thaler descended. He looked different now, his form still childlike, but cloaked in luminous strands of energy, his eyes burning with cosmic knowledge. He knelt beside Cal, placed a hand on his wound. Warmth. Relief. Then peace. I thought you were gone, Cal whispered. Thaler smiled. You are my sentinel. I will not lose you. Cal reached up, his hand trembling, and clasped the boy's fingers. You have to finish this. Whatever this is. You're not a relic anymore. You're the last light of something important. Thaler nodded. He stood and turned toward the seat. With one final motion, he spread his arms, and the throne responded. Pillars of light rose into the heavens. The Syndicate ships turned in retreat, their systems crippled by a force they could not touch. The void folded around the star seat like a blooming flower, its energy reshaping the very laws of space. Cal blacked out before he saw what came next. But in his final moment of awareness, he felt something change, not just in the station or the child, but in himself. The war was not over, but something ancient had returned to the stars. And it had chosen its protector.